the legal perspectives. So if you all have any queries related to the subject, please feel free to ask whatever the questions. So, and wish you all the very best to take the maximum out of the program. So, Ms. Mahendra, over to you, sir.
Yeah, even during the session, you can ask me questions. No need to wait until the end. Okay, right. We'll start.
Thank you.
Now, we are trying to cover a subject. Normally, in a given course, we would cover this by 1 month by academic sessions. But anyway, this seems to happen to be a workshop. I try to make it in a more practical manner. So, to start with, when we say labor law, we are using so many terms for this same thing: employment law, industrial law, labor law, so many denominations. But anyway, end of the day, what concern is the law by enforceable body that governs any society. So in employment is an enforceable body of rules or enactments or practices, rules a company or workers with their masters as well. In generally, in a society, we can say a system of rules a society sets to maintain order. Order means in a way something like a discipline, right? This is highly important. Now in Sri Lanka, in the employment law, there are so many sources. To be start with, number one is acts, laws, ordinances. Those we call generally by the term legislation. I may say about 40% or more of the employment is governed by laws. For example, Shop and Office Employees Act, Wages Board, EPF, ETF, Gratuity, Termination Act. There are about 52 odd laws, and directly the employment governs 40% or 50, almost closer to 50 by legislations. Acts means laws passed after the independence. Ordinances, laws passed before 1948, before the independence. In Sinhalese we say ordinances Ajna Panata. Acts we say Panata, that's by Parliament. Commonly both we call law. And apart to that, the contract of employment, in English we say Seva Givsuma, is highly important. And there are so many things where law is silent. For example, in Sri Lankan law, there is no probation legally by law for private sector. For government sector, of course, government sector means pensionable employees, just like, for example, school teachers, government school teachers who are pensionable. They do govern by establishment code, Ayatana Sangrahaya, not by Shop and Office Act or any other act. Hello? And they can't go to Labour Department. Department of Labour is not accessible for them. I mean, you can physically go, but it doesn't work with them. They have a Public Services Commission. They have to go to PSC, Public Service Commission, for any their complaints about their employment. The private sector, we are having directly Department of Labour and Labour Tribunal, Labour Courts, arbitration, conciliation, those things. But for the government pensionable employees, they have Rajya Seva Commission Sabha, Public Services Commission. That's a different law altogether. So today we are discussing not the law for government officers who are pensionable, but the laws for private sector. So I told there's no probation in way of a law for private sector. But the law is silent. doesn't say you cannot put a probation. So when the employer puts a probation into your contract of employment, then you have probation because you sign the contract. And there's no retirement age as well. The government is discussing these days for the private sector whether they can extend that up to 60, whereas the practice is so far about 55 in some organizations, and some organizations optional retirement age is 57, compulsory retirement age is 60, but there's no government ruling on that. 55, you may wonder where you come across the 55. That because of the EPF access, a male can withdraw his returns EPF after the age of 55 if your term ceases to be, if you get retired. For females, that is 50. So they have taken the upper ceiling, 55. That's how this practice of 55 for the retirement has came in. And there are so many other things. The law is silent, trainings, communication, grievance handling. So those things, employer has an ability put in those to the contract of employment where it doesn't break any rule. So there are wherever the law is silent, those things can be engaged into the contract of employment by the employer. So law of contract says a contract is equal bargaining power. Contract has equal bargaining power, but in this context, it is the bargaining power of the employer, moreover. So therefore, labor laws has been enacted in a way 80% to support the workers, not the employer. And collective agreements. Collective agreements is it's a feature of the Industrial Dispute Act. Industrial Dispute Act is the act, it came in 1950 to resolve disputes. So number one procedure, they say collective agreements. That means samhika gives the employer and employee together, they can come to an agreement. For example, how much would be their bonus end of the year? How much would be their terms and conditions of other facilities? How much would be the increment, annual increment? Otherwise, when they are having unions, they start fighting end of the year or middle of the year for various requests. But when you come for an agreement and sign an agreement, nobody can violate that. For 3 years, that would last. For example, now there's no time limit. Normally, people sign that for 1 year, 2 years, maybe 3 years. In our company, we are having a collective agreement that runs for 3 years. But during that time, even company faces last year, this year and last year, both. Last year heavily we suffered from COVID. But we had to pay all the bonuses because we have a sign agreement of paying the bonuses like that.